Captain Thomas Walker pulled his coat tighter as the bitter Montana wind cut through the trees. The morning had started like any other, coffee on the porch, watching the sunrise over the mountains, until he spotted the smoke rising from the woods behind his cabin. 20 years of military service had taught him that unusual smoke meant trouble. He grabbed his rifle and emergency pack out of habit. 3 miles into the dense forest, he found the source. A small craft unlike anything he'd seen before, even during his years with Earth's space program. The ship had carved a path through the pines before embedding itself in frozen soil. It was roughly the size of a small car, its surface a strange metal that shifted colors in the sunlight. Walker approached cautiously, weapon ready. The craft had no visible windows, just a seamless hull with symbols etched into the surface that seemed to pulse faintly. A section of the hull had split open, revealing a dark interior. "Hello," he called, knowing it was foolish. If this was an aircraft, it was like no Earth design he'd ever encountered. Something moved inside. Walker tensed, raising his rifle slightly. A small blue hand emerged from the darkness, followed by a face that was almost, but not quite, human. The child looked like a girl of perhaps 10 years, with skin the color of twilight sky and eyes that contained 2 colors each, violet and gold, swirled together like galaxies. 6 fingers spread on each hand as she reached toward him, her movements weak and uncoordinated. "Easy there," Walker said, lowering his weapon and kneeling slowly. The child flinched at his voice, trying to retreat back into the craft, but her movements were sluggish. Now that he was closer, Walker could see she was injured. A deep cut across her forehead leaked purple-tinged blood, and her breathing came in short, uneven gasps. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly, holding his empty hands out to show he meant no harm. The girl's strange eyes focused on him briefly before rolling back. She collapsed halfway out of the craft. Walker rushed forward, catching her small body before she hit the ground. She weighed almost nothing in his arms, lighter than a human child her size should be. Her skin felt cool to the touch, with a faint pattern of star-like markings visible across her cheeks and hands. Walker checked for a pulse, finding it fluttering weakly at the base of her throat. Her clothes were made of a material he couldn't identify, something that seemed to shift between solid and liquid with her breathing. A pendant hung around her neck, glowing faintly with an internal light. He made a quick decision. If he called this in, the military would descend on his property within hours. He'd seen enough classified operations to know what would happen to this child. Endless tests, probable dissection, at best a life as a government secret. "Not happening on my watch," he muttered, gently wrapping the girl in his coat. He searched the craft quickly, finding only a small device similar to a tablet and what looked like a food container with crystalline contents. He took both, then used branches to cover the craft as best he could. He'd have to return later to hide it properly. The girl didn't stir as he carried her back to his cabin, her breath sometimes faltering so much that he stopped to make sure she was still alive. Inside, he laid her on his bed and treated her wounds with his first aid kit, noting the unusual anatomy as he worked. A second, smaller heart beating near her right side, bones that seemed too light and flexible. For 3 days, she drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes mumbling words in a language that sounded like singing. When she finally opened her eyes fully, the fear in them was unmistakable. She pressed herself against the wall, making a high, trilling sound of distress. "It's okay," Walker said, staying where he was. "You're safe here." The girl watched him warily, then slowly pointed to herself and made a complex sound that Walker couldn't hope to pronounce. Walker smiled gently. "I can't say that. How about I call you Juwu? It means bright feather. My grandmother was half Korean." The girl tilted her head, considering him with those strange jewel-colored eyes. She pointed at him questioningly. "I'm Thomas. Thomas Walker." She attempted his name, her voice musical. "Tomas." "Close enough," he smiled. Over the next few weeks, Ju recovered quickly and began learning English at a pace that amazed Walker. She approached everything with intense curiosity, from the running water in the sink to the birds outside the window. The pendant she wore never left her neck, and sometimes Walker caught it glowing when she slept, projecting tiny points of light like stars onto the ceiling. 1 month after finding her, Walker sat Ju down with a map of the night sky. "Where are you from?" he asked gently. Ju studied the map, then slowly shook her head. She pointed upward, then far off the edge of the map. "Far away," she said simply, one of the few phrases she had mastered. "Why are you here?" Walker tried. Ju's expression darkened. She made a violent gesture with her hands, then a motion like something small flying away. "Bad people. Coming." Her eyes filled with tears. "Hide me, please." Walker felt a chill that had nothing to do with the Montana winter outside. He placed his hand over Ju's small blue one. "No one will find you here," he promised. "You're safe now." But that night, watching Ju sleep, her pendant glowing softly with its strange light, Walker wondered what he had gotten himself into, and who might be looking for this mysterious child who had fallen from the stars. 3 years passed like water flowing in a stream. The cabin that once felt too big for Thomas Walker now seemed just right, with Ju's presence filling every corner. He watched her grow from a frightened child into a confident young teenager who soaked up knowledge like a sponge. "Why can't I go to the town with you?" Ju asked one morning as Walker prepared for his monthly supply run. She sat at the kitchen table, blue fingers carefully turning the pages of an astronomy book. Walker sighed, having expected this question for some time. "People might not understand you, Starlight. They might be afraid. Because I look different." Ju touched her iridescent blue skin. The star-like patterns across her cheeks had grown more pronounced as she aged. "Humans fear what they don't understand." Walker set a plate of pancakes in front of her. "And some humans would want to study you." Ju's dual-colored eyes darkened. "Like in the movies, with the labs." "Something like that." Walker didn't tell her how many times he'd spotted drones flying too low over the surrounding forest, or about the black government vehicles that occasionally parked at the far end of the dirt road leading to their property. For public trips, they had developed a careful routine. Makeup covered Ju's blue skin, gloves hid her 6-fingered hands, and colored contacts masked her unusual eyes. Her pendant remained hidden beneath her clothes, though Walker often noticed it glowing through the fabric when Ju experienced strong emotions. Those emotions sometimes had unexpected effects. Once, when a neighborhood boy had thrown a rock at a bird's nest during a rare visit to town, every stone in a 20-foot radius had suddenly lifted into the air and hovered for 3 seconds before dropping. Walker had hurried Ju away before anyone could connect the strange event to the quiet girl in too many clothes. "When did you first suspect I wasn't normal?" Ju asked one evening as they sat watching the stars from the porch swing. Walker chuckled. "Well, the blue skin and the spaceship were pretty big clues." Ju laughed, the sound like small bells ringing. "No, I mean, when did you realize I was royal?" The question caught Walker off guard. "What makes you think that?" Ju's hand went to her pendant. "The dreams are coming back. Not scary ones this time. I see big rooms with tall ceilings. People bowing to me." She looked at her hands. "And sometimes, when I'm angry or scared, I can feel something inside me, like power waiting to come out." Walker nodded slowly. He had witnessed objects moving when Ju was upset, lights flickering when she had nightmares. Once, during a thunderstorm that terrified her, he could have sworn he saw an electricity arc from her fingertips to the metal lamp beside her bed. "Your pendant might have answers," Walker suggested. "It seems to respond to you." Ju clutched the glowing object through her shirt. "It feels like it's waiting for something. Like I'm not ready yet." That night, the first serious threat arrived. Walker woke to the sound of his security system's silent alarm. The monitors showed 3 figures in tactical gear moving through the woods toward the cabin. "Ju," he whispered, shaking her gently. "We need to go to the safe room." Her eyes opened instantly, alert. "They're here, aren't they? The bad people." "Maybe just curious people," Walker said, though he didn't believe it himself. He grabbed the emergency bags he kept ready and led Juwoo to the hidden basement room he built during her first year with him. From the security monitors, they watched the intruders search the cabin with professional efficiency. They weren't random thieves or local law enforcement. Their equipment was military grade, but bore no insignia. "They're looking for me," Juwoo whispered, her pendant glowing brightly now. One of the intruders held up a device that beeped more rapidly as he approached the bookshelf concealing the safe room entrance. Walker reached for his gun. Suddenly, Juwoo gasped. Her pendant flared with blinding light, and the intruder's device exploded in his hand. All the electronics in the cabin died simultaneously, but not the battery-powered monitor in the safe room. The intruders spoke urgently to each other, then retreated as quickly as they had come. "What did you do?" Walker asked, amazed. Juwoo looked at her hands in wonder. "I don't know. I just wanted them to stop." The next morning, after ensuring the intruders were truly gone, Walker made a difficult decision. "We need help," he told Juwoo as they packed essential belongings. "I have a friend, a doctor named Minji Park. She worked with me in the space program. If anyone can help us understand who you are and why these people are looking for you, it's her." Juwoo looked around at the only home she had known on Earth. "Will we come back?" Walker wished he could lie to her. "I don't know, Starlight." As they loaded the truck, a black sedan appeared at the far end of the driveway. Walker tensed, reaching for his concealed weapon. The driver's window lowered, revealing a woman with short hair and sharp eyes. "Captain Walker," she called. "My name is Agent Sunwoo. We need to talk about your daughter." Juwoo's pendant began to glow beneath her jacket. "Thomas," she whispered, using his first name as she only did in serious moments. "I think I'm starting to remember who I am. And I think those people last night, they weren't from Earth." Walker looked from the government agent to the alien child he'd raised as his own, knowing their quiet life in Montana had come to an end. Whatever Juwoo truly was, the time for hiding was over. Agent Sunwoo led Walker and Juwoo to a small research facility hidden deep in the mountains. Unlike the sterile government labs Walker had feared, this place looked more like a comfortable mountain lodge with advanced equipment tucked discreetly into corners. "Earth Defense Initiative," Sunwoo explained as they entered a room with large windows overlooking a forested valley. "We've been monitoring extraterrestrial activity for decades. Your little friend here set off several of our sensors 3 years ago. If you knew about her all this time, why wait until now?" Walker asked, keeping Juwoo close to his side. "We believe in non-interference when possible," Sunwoo replied. "You were taking good care of her, and she wasn't a threat. But recent developments have forced our hand." The door opened, and a woman in her 50s entered. Her lab coat couldn't hide her military posture. "Dr. Minji Park," Walker said in surprise. "It's been a long time." "Too long, Thomas." Minji smiled briefly before turning her attention to Juwoo. "And this must be your daughter." Juwoo stood straighter, her dual-colored eyes assessing the doctor. "You know I'm not his biological daughter, and you know I'm not human." "Yes," Minji acknowledged. "But family isn't always about biology, is it?" The tension in the room lessened slightly. Minji gestured toward a comfortable seating area, rather than the examination tables Juwoo had clearly been eyeing nervously. "We've detected 7 ships entering our solar system 2 days ago," Minji explained once they were seated. 3 appear to be pursuit vessels of significant military capability. 4 are trying to evade them. "They're looking for me," Juwoo said quietly, her pendant beginning to glow beneath her shirt. Minji nodded. "We believe so, and we need to understand why." The doctor produced a small device. "This is a safe scanner. It won't hurt you, but it might help us understand your physiology better." After a reassuring nod from Walker, Juwoo allowed the scan. The results appeared on a large screen, showing her unusual dual cardiovascular system and the unique structure of her brain. Fascinating, Minji murmured. Your neural pathways suggest potential for abilities humans don't possess. And these genetic markers here, she pointed to specific highlighted sequences. These aren't random. They appear deliberately engineered. Like a signature, Sunwoo added. Or a royal seal, Juwoo whispered, her hand going to her pendant. Walker noticed the pendant was now glowing visibly through Juwoo's clothing. The pendant. It might have answers. Juwoo hesitated, then slowly removed the chain from around her neck. The pendant pulsed with inner light, seeming almost alive in her palm. I think I know how to use it now, she said. When she pressed her six-fingered hand against the central gem, the pendant rose into the air. Light erupted from it, filling the room with three-dimensional images, strange planets with multiple moons, vast cities with architecture that defied gravity, and ceremonies featuring beings who looked like older versions of Juwoo. The Celestial Dominion, Juwoo said, her voice suddenly different, more formal and assured. Memories rushed back as she narrated the images. My home. A civilization spanning 27 star systems. The images shifted to show a regal couple wearing elaborate clothing and jewels that matched Juwoo's pendant. My parents, she said softly. Emperor Taejo and Empress Haedun. Your royalty, Walker realized, pieces falling into place, her natural grace, her quick learning, the innate authority she sometimes displayed even as a child. The holographic display darkened, showing scenes of conflict, ships firing upon each other, explosions within palace walls, people running in terror. General Doyun, Juwoo said, her voice hardening as the image showed a stern male figure with midnight blue skin and cold eyes. He led the military coup. Killed my family. Everyone died except. Her voice broke. Except you, Walker finished, moving to put his arm around her shoulders. The final images showed a desperate scene. A loyal guard placing infant Juwoo into a small vessel, programming coordinates, and launching the craft moments before being struck down. My real name is Noveria, Juwoo said as the light from the pendant faded. Princess Noveria, heir to the Celestial Dominion throne. The room fell silent as everyone processed this revelation. Earth wasn't randomly chosen, Minji said finally, reviewing data on her tablet. Your escape pod's trajectory was precisely calculated. Your parents chose Earth specifically as your sanctuary. Why Earth? Walker asked. We're not exactly an advanced civilization compared to what we just saw. Because humans are unknown to the Dominion, Juwoo, now Noveria, realized. And because of this, she touched the pendant again, revealing new images. Ancient Dominion ships visiting prehistoric Earth, collecting samples, departing. Our DNA, Sunwoo breathed. Your species and humans share genetic markers. We are distant cousins, Noveria confirmed. My parents believed I could blend in here until I was old enough to reclaim my birthright. Alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Sunwoo's communication device lit up with urgent messages. The pursuit ships have entered Earth's atmosphere, she reported grimly. And they're heading directly for this location. Noveria stood, her royal bearing fully evident now despite her young age. General Doyun has found me. He won't stop until I'm dead, and any claim to the throne is eliminated. Walker moved to stand beside her, hand on his weapon. Then he'll have to go through me first. Noveria looked up at the human who had raised her, unexpected tears in her alien eyes. I'm sorry I brought this danger to your world. Don't be, Walker said firmly. You're my daughter, princess or not, and family protects each other. Outside, the sky darkened as three massive ships descended through the clouds, their weapon systems visibly charging. The mountain facility shook as the first energy blast struck the defensive shields Sunwoo's team had activated. Inside the command center, screens showed three large ships hovering above them, their hulls black against the afternoon sky. Dominion warships, Noveria said, her voice steady despite the fear in her dual-colored eyes. Military class. They're attempting to disable rather than destroy. They want me alive. That gives us an advantage, Walker noted, his military mind already forming plans. If they won't use their full firepower, we have options. Minji pointed to sensor readings on one of the screens. The 4 friendly ships we detected are still 8 hours away at their current speed. We need to survive until then. We won't last 8 hours here, Sunwoo said grimly as another blast made the lights flicker. The shields were designed for meteorites, not alien warships. Walker studied the tactical display. We need to move. Somewhere with natural cover, away from population centers. The old mining tunnels, Minji suggested. They run for miles under these mountains. Some are lined with metals that might block their tracking technology. As they hurried to gather supplies, the ceiling cracked. A section collapsed, revealing a hovering drone that immediately fired stun blasts into the room. Walker pushed Noveria behind him and shot the drone with his pistol. It sparked and fell. They've breached the east section, Sunwoo reported, checking her tablet. We have minutes, not hours. They escaped through a hidden elevator that descended deep into the mountain. The tunnels were cold and dark, lit only by emergency lights that cast long shadows on the rough walls. Stay close, Walker told Noveria as they moved deeper into the maze-like passages. I'm not afraid, she replied, though her hand gripped his tightly. Behind them, they heard the sounds of pursuit, footsteps and electronic whirring. Strange voices called out in the language Walker had heard Noveria speak in her sleep years ago. They're saying to surrender the princess and the humans will be spared, Noveria translated, her voice barely above a whisper. Don't believe them, Sunwoo said. We've intercepted their communications. Their orders are to leave no witnesses. They reached a large cavern with multiple tunnel entrances and paused to catch their breath. Minji checked her equipment. Their forces are splitting up to search all passages, she reported. We're being hunted systematically. Walker noticed Noveria standing very still, her pendant glowing brightly beneath her shirt. Her eyes had taken on a strange luminescence. I can feel them, she said. 12 soldiers. 3 are close. In the north tunnel. The others are spreading out. She pointed to different passages without looking at them. You can sense them? Minji asked, fascinated despite their danger. Another royal ability, Noveria explained. It's getting stronger as I remember who I am. A plan formed in Walker's mind. Can you do more than sense them? Noveria hesitated. Maybe. I'm not fully trained. But. She removed her pendant and held it in her 6-fingered hand. It pulsed with blue light, responding to her touch. With her eyes closed in concentration, she pointed it toward one of the tunnels. A pulse of energy shot from the pendant, followed by sounds of confusion and equipment failure from the passage. Their weapons and communication devices should be temporarily disabled, she said, looking surprised at her own success. Walker nodded approvingly. Good work. Now let's set a trap. Using Noveria's abilities to sense the hunters and Sunwoo's tactical knowledge, they set up ambush points throughout the cavern. When the first 3 soldiers entered, Walker and Sunwoo quickly overwhelmed them. One escaped back into the tunnels. We need to move before reinforcements arrive, Minji urged. As they prepared to leave, Noveria suddenly gasped. Wait, there's someone else. She turned toward a side tunnel they had dismissed as too small. Another celestial, but different. A figure emerged from the shadows. A celestial male with deep purple skin marked with military insignia. Unlike the other soldiers, he wore no helmet, revealing features that shared a striking resemblance to Noveria. Princess Noveria, he said in accented English, bowing slightly. I am Commander Shunho, your father's former royal guard captain. Prove it, Walker demanded, keeping his weapon trained on the newcomer. Junho slowly removed a medallion from his uniform. It matched the patterns on Noveria's pendant. I was the one who placed you in the escape pod, he said to Noveria. Your father's last order to me was to ensure your survival at any cost." Novaria's pendant glowed brightly as she approached him. "I remember your face," she said softly. "You sang to me as the pod launched." The touching moment was interrupted by alarm signals from Sunwoo's equipment. "More troops are converging on our position, and something bigger is coming down the main tunnel." Junho's expression turned grim. "That would be Commander Ki-hun, General Do-yeon's most loyal executioner. We must leave immediately." "How did you find us?" Minji asked as they gathered their gear. "I've been on Earth for 2 years, tracking Princess Novaria's energy signature," Junho explained. "When Do-yeon's forces arrived, I knew I had to reach her first." They fled through the tunnels with Junho guiding them toward a hidden exit. Behind them, a roar echoed through the passage, inhuman and filled with rage. "Commander Ki-hun," Junho explained grimly. "He's not fully celestial anymore. Do-yeon's experiments have changed him." As they reached a narrow bridge spanning an underground river, Walker made a decision. He handed Novaria his most precious possession, a photo of them together from her first year on Earth. "Go with Junho," he told her. "I'll slow them down." "No," Novaria protested. "I won't leave you." Walker smiled at the alien child who had become his daughter. "A princess needs to survive to reclaim her throne, and a father protects his daughter." "I'll stay with him," Sunwoo volunteered, checking her weapon. "Dr. Park, get the princess to safety." Novaria embraced Walker fiercely. "This isn't goodbye," she insisted. "Family always finds each other again." As Junho led Novaria and Minji across the bridge, Walker and Sunwoo prepared their last stand against the approaching hunters, determined to give the rightful heir to the Celestial Dominion the time she needed to escape. The 4 loyalist ships entered Earth's atmosphere at dawn, their sleek hulls gleaming in the morning light. On the ground, Novaria watched from the mountain hideout where Junho had taken her and Minji 3 days earlier. "Your royal guard has arrived," Junho said, bowing slightly. "The resistance has grown stronger since your disappearance. Many have turned against General Do-yeon's cruelty." Novaria barely heard him. "Any word from Walker and Sunwoo?" Walker smiled grimly. "This." He pressed a device Sunwoo had given him. Throughout the facility, Earth's technology, simple but effective, disrupted the alien systems. The lights failed, plunging them into darkness except for the glow of Novaria's pendant. In the confusion, Novaria channeled her power through the pendant as never before. A pulse of energy knocked Do-yeon back, while Junho engaged Ki-hun. Walker, despite his injuries, fought with the adaptability that had kept him alive for 20 years in Earth's special forces. As the facility crumbled around them, Novaria confronted Do-yeon directly. "You killed my family," she said, her voice steady as her pendant's light surrounded her like a shield. "But you failed to kill my spirit. You're a child." Do-yeon spat. "You cannot rule." "I had an excellent teacher," Novaria replied, glancing at Walker. "He taught me that true leadership isn't about power, it's about protection." With a final surge of energy from the pendant, Novaria incapacitated Do-yeon. Earth and Loyalist forces secured the facility as Do-yeon's troops surrendered without their leader. 1 month later, Novaria stood before the United Nations, flanked by Walker, now officially appointed as Earth's ambassador to the Celestial Dominion. Behind them stood representatives from both worlds. "Today marks the beginning of a new era," Novaria announced. "The Dominion will help Earth advance, and Earth will remind us of the values we nearly lost: courage, adaptation, and above all, the importance of family." She turned to Walker, taking his hand in her blue 6-fingered one. "Some bonds transcend blood, species, and even the stars themselves."